Hello and welcome to a life beyond me, where we go beyond this small little version of ourselves and step into our full power, realizing our most amazing and grandest potentials. In today's video, I'd like to talk about opening our hearts, living life with an open heart. This is something that most of us are looking for and are trying to achieve through different practices or ways of engaging live, interacting with other people, ourselves, and the world. Yet at times it can be quite complicated and complex as this term and this idea of living with an open heart is not really something that is put a lot of focus on in our growing up together. We are being brought into the world and our heart is open at that time, yet through things that are happening in our lives, different parts of our heart close off a little after little, adding to a whole lot at some point. And in our growing up, neither in school nor in our universities or education systems in other ways, this is addressed in any way. Or if you're going out into the world, most of the people have no idea what an open heart actually is and what this entails. Sure, there's love in people and connection in between people, but living from a fully and truly open heart is something totally different than we are being suggested through mainstream story mode, in a way, where romanticized love is like that thing that entails an open heart, in a way, but that is in no way the case. And then I want to dive into one of the most effective ways of actually opening your heart, which I'll be elaborating on a bit more later on in the video. Starting this off, let's take a look at how a heart can actually close off. It's actually quite a simple process that all of us go through in different levels. We come into this world as fully open, vulnerable little beings that have no clue of what's going on here. We are being brought into a world, are protected by our parents if everything is running well. Sometimes not even that is the case. So that might even be the first moment where we, in our unconditional love as a child that is looking at everyone and is in love and everything that is in love with that thing and that person and that being, that situation, right away, this love is there. That's where we come from, and that's what we take with us into this world. But then we experience things in our growing up, and we experience with this open heart that some things actually hurt. Like if we're running into disagreement or unlove in certain ways, at least what we perceive as unlove, this is painful. And as little children, we are very sensitive to this pain, and we have no idea how to deal with this. And in some situations, this pain could be so overly traumatic and overwhelming that it has to be stored in our body because we cannot cope with the energy. That is the very basic principle of how trauma is stored in our body. We're experiencing something, an emotion, energy in motion that rushes through our body, but it's on the sensation scale, it's too overwhelming that we cannot deal with it in that moment. So it's stored in our muscle tissues, it's stored in our emotional, energetic, ephemeral bodies, because we are not just this fleshy thing that we call a human being. We are a lot more beyond that. We have an energetic body. Our body is in constant flux and in constant connection with the outside world and the inside world that are ultimately not even different, as we are this interacting system of inside outside, and at one point it just melts into the same thing, right? So all these outside influences, so-called, become the inside influences, and this can be very overwhelming for a little child that is born out of love into this world. So what happens? It's stored in the body and it's hardened. The emotions become a part of the experience of the child, of ourselves. And we take this with us throughout our life. It becomes a part of us. And I mean, that is the very reason why so many people die of heart attack ultimately. There are some dietary and living style choices that just enhance this, but for most people it is the problem that they are dying of heart pain that they have not really been able to deal with. It's one of the most common causes of death in the Western modernized world. So that gets us to the importance of dealing with the heartache and the pain that we have stored in this beautiful, life-giving, love-giving, wonderfulness-giving something that is pumping in our chest and that is pumping even beyond that in many different ways than just circulating blood, because it's one of our most important centers. It's how we connect with the world. And for this connection to fully flow in all its different ways, we have to find ways to reopen our heart, right? And if we go to a, let's say, healing circle or whatever, you go into a retreat or whatever, try to find out something else about ourselves, grow and all these things, and it can come very easily to say, yeah, I just want to open my heart. But little do we know at that point that opening the heart is not necessarily a super beautiful and enjoyable process. Because for the heart to reopen again, to unharden from past experience and past trauma, the heart has to release what it has been storing. And that is old energy, that is old emotion. And this emotion is most of the time connected to pain. Immense physical pain, emotional pain, psychological, mental, and beyond this, like a spiritual pain in some ways. It's something that is energetically connected to us, that we are holding on, that we have made a part of ourselves. And in opening up our hearts, we have to let go of these things on many different layers, mentally as identities, in a felt sense of like, oh, this is how I feel, this is who I am. I think I might have an open heart, but still it hurts. And when it gets triggered by certain situations, it hurts even more. And then I want to get out of these situations, and that takes freedom away from us, because we have to act in ways to protect our painful hearts from experiencing more pain, or for the same pain that has always been there to be triggered and re-experienced. Yet not fully re-experienced or not let go, and that's why we'll continue until we are able and willing to fully face it, let it sit there and evaporate out of us the past pain and trauma. This is one of the most challenging things that we can do, because all of our safety mechanisms of the psyche are working against that. They are protecting us, like this, the saving of these energies in our bodies, in our hearts, has been a safety mechanism. A safety mechanism that enabled us to go through traumatic, painful, hurtful experiences without getting too scarred by them, for us to still continue to be in this world in a way, to not spiritually, soulfully die in some senses. This is what this has created, and this is what this whole pattern of holding on to this pain in our physical bodies and in our emotional field is all about. It's a protective mechanism, not to experience it too strongly. So to make the decision to go beyond this is something very challenging. A lot of your conscious awareness is needed when you're going to deal with this. That is very, very important. So don't go into the process of opening your heart with the idea that it's going to be very easy and fluffy. It can be, and there will be very beautiful parts of opening your heart where this warm glow of love re-enters yourself and you're able to let go of the tension that resides within your heart. And that is wonderfully beautiful. And there are many tools for this that you can work with, and you can enhance your compassion for yourself and the world in different ways, and you can really work with this. This is the gentle way, so always find a mix, right? But at the same time, you have to be very brave and courageous when facing these energies, because they will be overwhelming. There will be fear, there will be sadness, there will be loneliness, there will be anything that you can ever imagine that you don't want to experience at all. It's going to be the opposite of what you want. This is what you will have to go through to let happen, to connect with, to open your heart. That is the bad news, in a way, that you will really have to do some thorough connection there and be willing to fall into sadness, desperation, depression, whatever it is, what comes with this old pain. And for some it's somewhat stronger, for some it's a bit lighter, but at the same time you have to face your deepest, darkest fears, your own inner demons, so to say. Those things that you're the most afraid of. This is what you're going to be facing if you are willing to open your heart. As I said, that's the bad news. At the same time, there's the beautiful side, the good news of this, because this process in its own right will make you grow tremendously. Not just open up your heart, release old trauma, tension, and contraction. That's the word. At the same time, it is enabling you to withstand the thing that you are the most afraid of, and that is being emotionally hurt. That's what this whole shenanigans, what we're doing in this world is all about. We are afraid of being hurt. That's all it is. Yet, in your willingness to open up your heart and be heard, that's where you go beyond this pain, where you go beyond this limitation that the little sense of me is putting upon your experience. And this is where you step into your heart, where you're widening your identity, where you are connecting with a power that is beyond the mental layers and ideas of what you're able to take and what not to take. That's beyond your preferences. It's not about what you want anymore, it's about what you have to do to become fully free and available in this world, to this world, for this world, and yourself. And that in its own right is very, very beautiful. This is how you build a muscle of strength, courage, that is going to propel you so far in your life and holds the ultimate gift for you, and that is the open heart, the open connection with yourself, the world, and all the people in it, without all these limitations that we put onto our experience, where you go back into your childhood self that connects with the world with awe and wonder in a loving embrace of everything that appears. And that is the gift that is awaiting you, but for that one you have to go through challenging waters. You have to make it through this. And I'm here to remind you of your capacities to do that. And that it's very important to do that, because this is what's setting you free. This is what's giving you this open heart that you're longing for, because every one of us is longing for this unconditional connection and love towards ourselves and to the world. This is our identity. This is what we want to come home to. We want to be connected to who we are and not play this role of this little separated self that has all these restrictions on how love works and who we want to connect with and who not to, and all these different things, and how if we then get into relationships with people that are close to us, how these people should behave so we don't get hurt. So we can put all these expectations on them that they have to fulfill, and then in this little bubble we are comfortable and okay. But if only the slightest thing goes awry, we are in for some trouble, aren't we? So opening the heart overcomes all these little struggles in our relating to each other, because this brings the openness to deal with whatever is coming up, and even having compassion and a loving embrace for that. We might not necessarily enjoy it, yet we are able to deal with it from a grounded, open-hearted place. And that is very beautiful. Now, you might think that experiencing love itself is going to be the most heart-opening thing. And in some ways it is. That's the gentle kiss of love that is going to be enabling you to connect and be in this, right? That's very beautiful. But be aware, because this, that might go. Because that is not what love ultimately is. Love is a even deeper level of peace, openness, and emptiness that allows even this awe and the going of the awe and the coming back of the awe, coming back together and reuniting with you in all these different coming in and going and coming in and going. This is a peace that you will be able to connect with. But for that, and that's the most effective tool of all of them, to open your heart, and that is heartbreak. That's the thing that we're also afraid of. That's why we're shying away from meeting people heart to heart, openly, to go into relationship with someone. That's why we are staying in relationships that might not even be that cool anymore, right? That's why we stay together and meshed with people that we somewhat like, because it gives some kind of connection. It gives some sense of open-heartedness with each other. But in reality, it is not fully that, is it? And we know that most of the time. So instead of going with this, it makes more sense to allow yourself and your heart to be fully heartbroken. To let your heart be broken open. This is where those old tensions can be felt, all these old traumas, emotions, restrictions that have perpetuated your mental scapes as well, your perspectives and conceptions of the world, how things are, how people are. If you're a man, how women are. If you're a woman, how men are, or whatever else is your orientation in that. Pick your poison, right? But seeing how the other is made and created and how we connect with that, that is so important. That is so immensely important. And using this tool that heartbreak delivers to you is a very rare gift from life, actually. And don't get me wrong, it feels like shit. You don't want to feel it. It's like, it's one of the most challenging emotional states to be in, because the heartbreak of a certain situation is going to be bringing up the heartache of all other past situations, because a crack in your heart has appeared where all this stuff can come in and pour out into your present reality, and you're not just dealing with the end of a relating to a person, might it be through death or the end of a relationship, or you're moving away to a different place, or whatever it might be. Physical separation, all these different things, whatever it is. Time moving on. When this happens and your heart breaks open, this crack, this is, where it pours out, and this old pain, it will come into your life, and it's there, and you're overwhelmed. You don't know how to deal with it, and the sadness will pour out in ways. And what we would generally do is we'll try to distract us, right? We'll have a drink, smoke a joint, watch something on the TV, work some more, meet another friend. And that is all good to get through the most intense insanity that might be brought up through this, to the heartbreak and heartache. But at one point, you'll have to make the decision. We all have to make the decision to face it and to sit with it and to let the sadness, the heartache come up. Because in that, we are able to find out that this heartache that is seeping through the heartbreak is nothing but love. It is love for the world and the other people in the world. It's the love for ourselves, for our own well-being. This is what's pouring out. It's love. Yet this love has been constricted because we have run into situations in our past experience where we were fully open-hearted, giving away our love, but this love was not able to be received by the world and the people in the world in the way we would have loved that. And so this love was thrown back to us, and we took this love in again. We had an overfill of love, and we didn't know what to do with it. So we stored it inside of us, but this energy needs to move. It can't be stored, otherwise it hurts. And this is what you can connect with. It's by allowing sadness, pain, depression, loneliness, fear, whatever these hard, achy emotions might be, injustice. You might feel separated, you might feel left alone, abandoned, rejected, in all these different ways. Heartbreak comes up, right? Yet it always points home to that one thing, and that is to the love that is in your heart. And through experiencing the pain and being fully open to this and sitting there and sobbing and crying and allowing this to happen and to connect with this with a conscious awareness of that this is going on and giving it space and not fighting this, this is where you're releasing the tension. This is where you're stepping into your full power, where you're able to hold this pain, to embrace it, but let it go. And that is how little by little your heart opens more and more, and it makes room for this love to come in. This love that you have never been disconnected from, this love that you are. That is your vital essence. That is the energy that is pouring through you into this life, connected infinitely with it, as it. With all this being said, the invitation is put out to you to experience all these different heartaches and heartbreaks in your life. It doesn't have to be the end of relating to a person that was important to you, or an animal, a place, or whatever it is. To a job, or whatever comes up, right? It can be the simple, small things as well, where you just get triggered and heartache comes up, and where you would usually do something to distract yourself, right? To go to the TV or the internet, or to have the cigarette, to have the drink, to call a friend, to do some sports. That's all beautiful, and do all of that's important in your life. But at the same time, make space for conscious awareness of heartache and heartbreak, and let that pour out of yourself. Connect with it, be brave, and you have the power to do so. I know that, and you know that as well. So this is really it, right? You are capable of facing all the old pain and aches of your heart. Although it's going to be uncomfortable, you are very much able to do so. And I have great faith in you that we will be able to move through this when your next possibility for this will arise. In that way, don't see a broken heart as something too dreadful and awful, but as something that is actually your golden ticket home, that is a grand enabler of yourself connecting with the most beautiful and deepest love that is residing within you, that just wants to be released out into this world. Just know that through your breaking heart, this love that is intrinsically you is coming out into this world again through the flames of the catharsis of your breaking heart, and facing these old emotions, you are set free to be that open-hearted individual that you always wanted to be.